So this is going to be a continuation of my Zero Trust series. If you haven't checked the previous videos, especially the whiteboard session and the previous labs, I'll add the links in the description. So in this video, we'll be looking at the second use case, which is how to provide a Zero Trust experience for what? For our remote employees, right? Especially the employees who are working from home nowadays, right? Using their own phones and laptops. How do you provide the Zero Trust principles when they are connecting to the network? So we'll start with the VPN, right? Then we'll look into the reverse proxy and how that helps with borderless access. And we'll integrate that with SSO. We'll do DUO Central, then we'll look into a bit of Umbrella, and finally we'll wind up with some AMP features, integration of AMP with DUO. Okay, so let's get on to my jump host. Okay, for the first one, I believe we have actually done this particular lab separately in my channel before, where we enabled remote access VPN with SSO. But anyway, we'll redo it as part of this one as well. This is what we are trying. So we have a user here who is trying to connect to the VPN, right? This is the ASA VPN. And to connect to the VPN, we will have to enable SSO. That's our task, right? So we'll enable SSO. Single sign-on will be enabled using our IDP, which is the DUO IDP, right? So primary authentication will happen using the Active Directory. And then the secondary authentication will happen using the phone, right? Using the DUO push. Once these both are succeeded, then the user will be able to successfully connect to the VPN. That's what we intend to do. So let's get on to our applications. All right, so let's come here. Sorry, this is my browser. So let's go on to the other guy. Okay, so here we go. Applications. Let's click on applications. Right now we'll just have one application, Jira, which we did from the previous lab. Let's click on protect applications and let's search for ASA. So you'll get ASA VPN. Pick the one with the hosted by DUO. It's the cloud-based solution. Let's click on protect. So it's going to ask you a few things like the URL of your of your VPN. In my case, so that's the information which you need to provide, right, for the service provider. So that's the VPN information. Do you have a name for your VPN group, right? So yes, we do. Let's just put that tunnel group over there. Sorry, I think I did not copy it. Let me just do that again. All right, so that's the VPN. What else? I think that's mainly it. I think we can scroll down to the complete bottom and hit the save. We'll come back to the rest of the configuration later. So we have just created the application and added very basic information. Few things we'll need to download this IDP certificate. Let's do that. Let's click on keep here so that it gets downloaded. Great. Let's also look at the policy part of things. So what type of policy? We'll apply the policy. We'll do application policy here so that it gets applied for everyone. So it's going to be an employee policy because we want only employees to VPN into our network. Sweet. And probably let's also scroll down to the settings section and put in a name, right? We can put any name we want, which is very much intuitive for our network. Let's do something like Zero Trust Workshop or something of that sort, or Zero Trust Widgets, maybe VPN. That's the name we want. We can go with anything which is relevant to your organization. And once we have done with that, we need to save it. All right, cool. Now we will go to ASA. ASA is important because we are going to implement this VPN. If you look at my diagram, where is my diagram? So yeah, so you see this is the ASA, right? This is the VPN headend. So we will need to configure the VPN headend to integrate it with SSO, correct? So we will go to ASDM here. The admin and the password is probably, I think I know it. Let's just paste it. Login. Yes, it's trying to log in. Great. All right. So the VPN, the ASDM is up. Let's actually go to the configuration section. And which configuration we want to do? VPN, right? So let's select the remote VPN, remote access VPN. Let's go to what? Certificate management. Let's go to CA certificate here. First is we need to add a new certificate, right? So we'll click on add. Why? Because we need to add a certificate of the IDP, correct? That's the one which we downloaded earlier. So we need to add that because so that the redirection, all of that goes smoothly, right? Because from ASA we are redirecting the authentication to what? To the SSO, right? To the IDP for the primary authentication, right? So let's give a name. Let's call this something as DUO _SSO. Should be fine. Install from file. Let's select the file, which is what we downloaded. Let's go to which one? Let's go to this PC and go to downloads. So the first one, let's select that. Right, so we've selected the certificate, we browsed it, and we are going to install the certificate now. Okay, these are the commands which are going to be pushed. That's fine. I'm going to click send. Okay, great, good, that's done. Now next, what do we do next? Now we need to do some anyconnect specific configuration, so which means that we need to go to what? Anyconnect connection profiles, correct? So we'll go to network connection. So anyconnect connection profile, right? Let's click on this tunnel group which we have. Click on the edit button, and there you go, basic. So what do we do next? Here, this is the place, right? The SAML server. So you have an option here to add SAML authentication, right? So we'll click on managed, and we need to add a new one. So I click add. Right, this is the place where we need to add the stuff which we need to copy from where? From my admin portal, which is there in the background here. Right, so what do we copy? Alright, let's copy one by one. Let's copy this entity ID. Let's go to ASTM and let's paste it. So remember, when you're copying the entity ID, paste the whole thing. Let's make sure everything got copied properly. Yes, looks good. Next, we need the sign-in URL. Again, come back. Let's copy the sign-in URL. But here, when you are pasting it, remember, don't paste. First is change this HTTP to HTTPS, right? And when you are pasting, everything gets pasted, but make sure that you remove the first part, right? You just keep only so much, right? So even remove the forward slashes. There you go. Okay, the rest of the two things as well, change this from HTTP to HTTPS, base URL as well, it has to be HTTPS. Now we want the sign out URL, so again let's copy it from here, go back to ASTM, paste it, but remember, when you are pasting it, remove the starting section. Alright, and the last is the base URL. The base URL is nothing but the VPN .dcloud this thing, right, which we kind of entered earlier. So let's just copy that from my notes and paste it here. Great. So we have, this is the end URL, base URL. Okay. Next, what do we want? Certificate. We need to select the certificate. So we'll select the IDP certificate which we installed, which is DUO, not DAG, there should be something called DUO SSO. There you go, right? This is the one, DUO _SSO and whatever the CN values and stuff. Let's copy, let's select that. We need a server service provider certificate, right, which is going to be dcloud VPN. This has been already created for us, we just need to select it. dcloud VPN signed by root CA, that's the one. Timeout, let's give around 300 seconds. And let's gonna say that's mainly it. We're gonna click OK here. Okay, click OK again. So this is what we put, right? The SSO1. Great. Let's select OK. And nothing much to be done here. Let's go and click OK here. We are not doing split tunneling and all of the changes. We are just doing the authentication piece. Okay. Once all of that is done, we are good to go and say apply and send. Okay, so that will basically send. So you should see the apply button here getting grayed out, which means that we are good, right? And also make sure you click on there should be, I think I already clicked earlier, there will be a write memory button here, which once you get clicked, the configuration gets saved. So we are done with all the ASTM stuff. Now let's minimize that. Cool. So we did all the VPN stuff. We will verify everything at the last. We'll not do the VPN right now. I'll show you the VPN part later. Let's continue with our next part, which is exploring how to do a reverse proxy, right? Alright, so the DUO's reverse proxy is called DUO Network Gateway, right? And this is how it appears. So this is what we'll be implementing, right? I pulled up a documentation of network gateway. So these are going to be, users, right? Especially the roaming users sitting outside the corporate network, right? They are trying to access a particular application which is there in the company's intranet or inside the company network, right? How do you access it? Pretty simple. We'll be installing this network gateway in the middle, right? It will need to have obviously a public IP. So once you install this DUO network gateway, the users can directly connect to the gateway, and the gateway can provide extra authentication by obviously setting up SAML and SSO. So we'll have we'll be first setting up the DUO network gateway, and then we'll integrate it with SAML and SSO, right? And then the DUO network gateway will act as a proxy, and it will provide access to these applications which are behind it in the corporate network. This way we no longer need what? We no longer need VPN, right? Every single access will be authenticated, verified, and we'll have continuous monitoring happening because we have SAML and SSO and MFA happening here. So everything is going to be in line with what we discussed earlier, which is zero trust principles. How do we do this? Let's come back to our jump host. Come to the application. So right now we should have probably, how many applications? We have done 2. So we should have a couple of applications. Yes, let's add one more application, which is our DNG, right? So we'll probably search for DNG. And again, let's select the single sign-on hosted by DUO. Come to the service provider section here. We need to provide the host name here, right? So we will go with the, again, this should be a publicly reachable because you will need to reach this, right? So for now, let's use because it's just a lab. Sorry, did I paste something else? Yeah, so DUO DNG dcloud.local, that's going to be the host name, right? That's going to be the domain name. Sorry, this is just the domain name. So the domain name can be obviously whatever is the local domain name you use. Once you put the domain name, let's quickly go and hit the save button. We will need to download this certificate for us, right? Anything else we need before we, give me a second. Yeah, I think we are good. We'll go and click on the certificate, download certificate. And yeah, the certificate got downloaded, which is great. Now we need to install this DUO network gateway, right? So let's open on the jump host itself, we'll install it. Alright, so the DUO network gateway actually has been installed. We'll access it from the jump host, right? So we'll click on the link here, DUO network gateway. Password has already been filled in, which is great. We'll log in. So this is how the DUO network gateway appears. It has been already, kind of installed in the DMZ zone of our network. If you look at my diagram here, so you see the DNG has already been installed. It's just an application, just like your DUO authentication proxy. It's been installed. We are just accessing it and configuring it now. So let's go to the primary authentication. Now this is where we need to put in some information, right? So let's go back to the admin page here. Let's copy certain things. Let's copy the entity ID and let's put it here. Alright, let's paste it as it is. So I think there we go. There we go. So that got copied. Hope the right thing got copied. Yes. Alright, let's get few more details from our DUO admin panel. Alright, so single sign-on URL will again go to our authentication page, paste it over here, and finally let's get the logout as well. Copy it here. Cool, so we've copied everything we needed. Hope everything has been copied. Let's just double check. That's SSO. Great. So everything has been copied. Now let's select the certificate file which we downloaded earlier. So which is going to be this guy. And finally hit the save settings button. Alright, so we have set up the DNG, we have set it up with an SSO SAML, but what's the point of this? What's the point of having a reverse proxy if we are not going to protect an application using it? Correct? So let's go to the application section. Let's add a new app, let's call it web app. By the way, you saw that in the drop down you have options to do SSH and RDP. So these are the three types of applications which you can do a proxy with. For the rest of them you still have to rely on VPN. Great, so we have added the application, so we will have to now go about so to fill this information we need some information from the admin panel. So let's go to the admin panel. Again, go to applications, protect an application, but this time we will say what? Again, DNG, but we will select this DNG web application, right? You can also do DNG RDP relay, DNG SSH. Let's do web application. Great. Next, what do? We need an application policy, right? So we added this, we need an application policy. Let's come down to the policy section. Where is that? Yeah, policy section. Let's use the apply a policy to all users, which is an application policy. Let's use the employee policy which we have in place. Great. Then we'll come to the settings section. So in the settings section, you can give a name for your application. I'm going to go give a name called as, this is fine, instead of web application I'm going to call it as SI web app. Right, you can give any name for your application. This is my application, so we already have this application set up, in the dcloud.local in the data center, right, in the headquarters. So what we are doing right now is we are not creating the application, we are just providing the reverse proxy access for the application, right? So that's the name of the application, which is great. Let's go out to the bottom and click the save button. Now we need to copy certain things. Let's copy this client ID to begin with. Go back to our DNG and we will have to paste it. Where? In the integration field over here. Right? So I'm going to say Control C, Control V. That's it. Let's get the secret. So let's copy this guy. And that one will need to come here. Right? So I'm going to say again Control V. So we've pasted the secret. Great. And finally we need the host name, right? A host name for what? The DUO API host name. So again, let's go back and copy that. Here you go. That's the API host name. Let's copy it and paste it on here. Let's enable the frameless authentication for this application. Next, external URL. This is the URL where people are going to, where users will go to access this particular app, right, from their, laptops, right, from the roaming clients. So it is going to be, I'm going to give something like siwap.dcloud.local, right? siwap. dcloud.local. That's the URL which people will use. This is the URL people will use to access. But then you will also need to provide an internal URL. But before that, let's do the rest of the stuff. We need to provide a certificate, a SSL certificate, because it's a web application, right? So where is the certificate? Let's go and find it. I think it should be in C drive, lab files, and certificates. So let's select the PEM file from here. So that's the certificate, and then you'll need a private key as well, right? So that's the public certificate. We'll select the key, which is, I think, siwap.key, if I'm not wrong, right? So we'll select that. So we've selected both of those, which is good. Now the internal URL, this is important. This is the actual IP address of what? This is the actual IP address of where the DUO reverse proxy or the network gateway can access the application or can redirect the request to the application. There you go, right? So this is where they are going to get redirected to, and that's mainly it, right? So we have added all the details we need. Let's simply go and add the button add application. So finally you can see on the top the application has been successfully added. So what people will be doing, they'll be trying to reach out to this application, right, the dcloud.local, and it will get redirected to the reverse proxy, will do all the authentication, the SSO, the MFA and everything which is needed, and finally once the policy, based on the policy, the user will be redirected to the application, which is actually what? The IP address which we just now put, which is 11.51. Now the very important thing here is we have done quite some applications by now, right? So is it possible to have like a centralized place so that people can directly come to, right, and they can access applications, right, rather than going to individual application, right? There is a way of doing that. So we can go to the admin panel, and again you'll understand this better when we do the demo, like at the finally we'll do a demo of the working of it. But for now, let's just go to single sign-on. Let's click on this DUO Central. Let's say get started. Right, and you have an activate now button. Come to the policy section. Here, apply policy to all users. Let's obviously select the employee policy. This is again defines who has access to this portal. Right, and finally come to the bottom and hit the save settings. Okay. Now again come to the tiles section, because this will define what applications will be visible on this portal. Right, so we'll say add tile. So add an application tile. This is where you can select the application. So we want the web app. We want Jira to be, these are the two applications I want on my DUO Central, so I'll enable that. Here I'll need to provide the URL, so let's provide the external URL with which people should be able to reach this. So I'm gonna Control-C, Control-V there, right? That's good. And let's edit what else? So that's pretty good. Do we need to do anything else? Let's see. I think we are good. So we'll say add tiles. Let's click on edit here, because now you get the option to add any custom logos for your application, right? So I'm going to select that. Let's go to our images. I think it's in lab files. So there you go. I'm going to select the PNG. Say there is a logo which has been created for this application. I'm going to use that. And finally go on save. Sweet. Similarly for Jira, let's click on edit. Let's add the custom logo we want. Right, it's going to be a Jira, a PNG file. Save. And we are good. So I'm going to hit the save. Okay. So this will finally, these are the two applications. You see the logos appearing, and these are the two applications which will be visible on the which will be visible on our DUO Central. Finally, we need to go and change this offline to online. Toggle that and just say yes, put me online. Alright, so still just hold on. Yeah, we are doing a bunch of configurations. We haven't seen the result yet. We'll see the result finally when we do all the workings of it at the last. Let's continue. Let's push through. What we're going to do next is, because we started with VPN, then we went for VPN-less, right? Where we provided access to these two applications, or in fact, sorry, the SI web application, the web app, we provided a VPN-less access, right, using our DUO reverse proxy. Now, what we need to next think of is, if people are going to access this application from their laptops, right, they would need some kind of a security, some cloud security system, so that their access is protected, right? Because otherwise, if you're using VPN, probably we could have implemented this using some firewalls in the corporate network, but since now there is no VPN, people are going to access this application directly from over the internet, they would need some kind of protection. That's where we'll be using Umbrella. So let's open up the Umbrella dashboard. Alright, so we are logging into Umbrella right now, or Umbrella admin panel. So the first thing you want to do is go to deployments, right? Go to configuration and domain management. Why we need to do this? Because if you guys haven't read about Umbrella, you can go back to my channel and you can look at there's some detailed videos on Umbrella. But Umbrella is basically a cloud security solution, right? It gives you DNS solution, DNS protection, web protection. It also has cloud delivered firewall and many other features. Now, one of the main important thing we'll be exploring here is the DNS policies, DNS security policies, right? So we want Umbrella to take care of all the DNS resolution normally, but we also want two specific domains, 2 or 3 domains which we don't want to send it to Umbrella. Why? Because Umbrella it's not an on-prem solution, it's a cloud solution, so it can't resolve your internal queries, right, of your organization. Basically the dcloud.local, dcloud and all of those domains it can't resolve. It can resolve all the public domains. So we'll have to bypass it. We will have to tell Umbrella, or we'll have to tell Umbrella not to resolve those domains, right? So we'll come to internal domains, click add. Let's add a couple of them here. One of them will be the dc-01.com. This is our AD domain, save. And the other one is our dcloud, right, the dcloud one. Let's add that one as well. Click save, right? Let's refresh this. Sometimes it takes a bit of time. Both are visible here. These are the internal domains. Let's go to external domains, and you can see we already have stuff which has already been added, which is needed for us, right? DUOsecurity.com is an external domain, and we don't want DUO to resolve anything going to that domain because we know it's a legitimate domain, right? And we don't want any, we basically don't want Umbrella to resolve anything and then kind of block any request, because then it would break our whole authentication flows, right? SSO and all of that is hosted on DUO, so we don't want anything to break. And dc-01.com as well is basically mentioned in both internal as well as the external domain, and we don't want DUO to resolve it. We don't want Umbrella to resolve it because it can be, because it's in the DMZ, it can be both internal as well as external domains, right? So we have added it on both the side of things. Now let's get to the main part of why we came here. Let's go to deployments, roaming computers, right? Because we want to tackle roaming users in this particular use case. So we'll go there and we'll click on settings. Okay, click on settings and let's come to anyconnect. So you see anyconnect here. This is the anyconnect which will be installed on the user's laptop. So we'll come back to the complete bottom and we'll see secure web gateway module is enabled, which is great, right? Next is we need to again come back to roaming computers and see there's an option here to download roaming client. Let's click on that. So you'll get a profile file, right? You can do 2 types of installations for Umbrella roaming for SWG client, right? Secure web gateway client. Either you can have a dedicated client which you can install, or you can add a module to your Umbrella itself. So to your anyconnect itself, right? So we're gonna click on that guy, right? And then now next part of the video, what we are going to do is we will deploy, or we'll push this Umbrella module via what? ASTM. You can do it in different ways. You can also push it using ICE and so on. We'll be using ASTM because we already know that our users are using ASA for VPN. So let's log into ASTM. Alright, so on the ASTM, let's again click on remote VPN. Anyconnect, we are already here. Let's click on anyconnect client profile. Let's add here, and we need to provide a name for a profile. Let's call it, I don't know, maybe something like Umbrella roaming. It can be any name. And the profile usage, right? We'll have to select Umbrella roaming security profile. Next is uploading. We need to upload that file which we just now downloaded, right? So we'll select browse local files. There you go. Select that. Select upload. File has been uploaded. Select OK. And finally, what we need to select the group, the VPN group, which is RA VPN. Click OK. Finally, apply, right? And send. Right? If you want to do a write memory, you can click on this button and it will do a write memory. That's mainly it, right? So what we just now did, we added the Umbrella module so that next time when user is connecting to the VPN, the Umbrella module gets downloaded for the anyconnect, right? And the user will have secure web gateway. Great. Now that we have done that, the next is we need to look into Umbrella and see what all policies we want to explore, right? I mean, for this video, I think we'll just explore the DNS policy. So let's close this. But you see now what we have enabled, right? Because we have enabled Umbrella, you get great amount of control, right? If you go to policies here, let's actually go to the policies, right? You see here DNS policy, firewall, web policy, data loss prevention, right? You can do IPS and lot of cool things, right? This is what zero trust is about, right? So look at the granularity you can get, right? So till now what we have done is we just we just made sure that the user is connecting to the application from a very trusted client. We enabled SSO, we enabled MFA and all of that, but now we are also adding the cloud security side of things, right? Where we can put basically a layer 7 firewall, right? We can make sure what the users are trying to access, how they are trying to access, where they are trying to access, what time they are trying to access. So that piece of the policy is coming in because of Umbrella. Okay. For us, let's pick a simple policy. Let's go to DNS policies. Maybe there'll always be a default policy, but let's simply go and add a new policy on the top. And you see a bunch of things here, which is good. We'll keep everything default. Let's go next. So here we'll need to provide the identity. So roaming computers is what we are trying to protect. Let's also add sites. So it will have some default settings now. I think about default, what do you want to protect and stuff. Yes, I want to protect against malware and stuff. So I'm going to keep all of this default. You can fine tune it based on your organization. Content, right? What type of content I want to access. So I'm going to go with high. If you put in the high, right, these are the categories which gets blocked, right? So that's fine, I guess. Let's go with next. Applications. Do you want to specific applications you want to block? Actually, this is what I want to do. Let me block anonymizer and cloud storage. So these are the applications which I don't want people to access, right? The roaming users. So as a result, I am blocking those. Click next. It will show you, it says these are the applications which are getting blocked, around 116 applications and 585 cloud storage applications. Yes, which is fine. I'm going to say proceed. Right, it will show me, do you want to put some allow list and all of that, which is not needed. I'm going to go with next. Enable file inspection, sure, so that AMP gets triggered because of this, right, which is good. The Umbrella default page, yeah, let's keep it default. You can customize it. Give a name for your policy. I'm going to go with like zero trust, maybe DNS. And finally, save. So we've gotten all the policies. I mean, we have configured our DNS policy, which will be useful for protecting our clients. We can actually go much deeper with all the other policies, but due to the time constraints, I'm just limiting to only one policy here. Sweet. Looks like we have actually done everything we needed. Time to go and verify. This is the fun part, right? So let's get into our client, right? Which client? Let's look at our diagram. We're gonna get into this client again, the remote workstation, right? So let me connect to it using so I'm gonna use Karen here because she is an employee. Let's assume that she is working from home today. Right, and connect. All right, so we have logged in. Now time to get on to the VPN. So let's just to make sure we are logged in as the correct user. See here, that's Karen. Great. So let's see where is our VPN. It should be somewhere here in the tray. Maybe not. Okay, let's open. Okay, or it's here. We have a shortcut here, and so let's click on that. It's running. Okay. All right. I just had to restart the the user machine, and now I think the VPN is available for us. Just to make sure we are in the right employee, you can see here it's Karen, right? Perfect. So let's get into let's select the VPN, which is Zero Trusty VPN. That's what we want to connect. Right. Let's put in the username here. So see, this is the single sign-on which I was talking about, right? Because we have enabled single sign-on for VPN, we are able to get this window. Click next. I'm gonna put in the password. Great. Clicking next. I should actually get a DUO push on my phone. I don't have my phone connected, but let's see. Yeah. Did I get it? Let me double check. Yes, I have gotten it. I'm approving it. There you go. I approved it. And I'm going to say yes, trust it. Okay. And you can see VPN is getting downloaded. Keep on observing this roaming security. It is inactive right now because profile is missing. But keep observing that. You can see VPN got connected. In few seconds or maybe in a minute, we should see the profile get downloaded for Umbrella. Right. And Umbrella should become active. So let's wait for that. Let's wait for a few maybe seconds or a minute. And there you go. Umbrella is active now. Perfect. So I think we have verified the VPN part, we have verified the Umbrella security part, right? How we got the anyconnect module, Umbrella module on here. Let's get on to our browser. And first thing is we want to explore that DUO Central portal, right? So how do we get the DUO Central portal? We need to go to our domain name, which we kind of put in earlier, right? So remember the domain name, which was, let's go with https colon. I think it's bits. Bits please, right? Bits please 2. Domain bitsplease2.demo.login DUO secret, right? So this is going to be the DUO Central URL. So I'm going to click on that, and again it's going to ask me. So I'm going to log in with Karen. Click next. Password. The password would be, I think, space the password. Login. I should get a DUO push. Let me check my phone. Yes, I got it, approved it. And now I'm going to say yes, trust it. And there you go, right? So we've got like 2 applications. Let me pull the browser a bit to the right, if I may. Yeah, but you see, these are the 2 applications which we enabled for DUO Central, right? So these both are available. Why this is useful is because now users can directly come on to this portal, right? Do their SSO, and from here they can go to their application, right? If you check this application, I can just click on this and to open a new browser, right? And you can see it's going through, right? It did the SSO. You see, it did not ask me to do MFA and stuff again. It just went through the reverse proxy, right? This is the DUO network gateway which we set up, right? So when we clicked on that application, the request first went to the DUO network gateway. It then did the primary authentication. We were already signed into SSO, so it did not have to ask my username password again. That's the whole point of SSO. And then finally it provided me access to the application. Right? Pretty cool. Similarly, I can do Jira. Right? I can go to the DUO center and click on Jira. But when I click on Jira, it will again use SSO, and it will not ask me to sign in again. There you go. Right? I'm into Jira already. We can verify if we are protected by Umbrella. Right? Let's go to Umbrella test. There's a URL called welcome.umbrella.com. You can check it on your laptop as well. And if you are protected by Umbrella, you'll get this green banner. Okay? If you want to try a couple of bad URLs, because we are protected by Umbrella DNS policy, right? So if I try to open up a website called, what is this? Let's try to open example malware website, or maybe phishing websites, right? So this is a phishing website called internetbadguys.com. Let me try opening it, and you see it is getting blocked because we have Umbrella in place. Let's open one more. Let's open a malware website. Try to open it, and it will again get blocked, saying that look, you are protected by Umbrella, so we can't allow this connection to go through. Right? It's trying to load. There you go, the block page. Right? Cool. That is pretty cool, right? We explored a bunch of things. Before we wind up, there is one more cool thing we can try, which is integrating the Cisco secure endpoint, right? Which is AMP, which is what we'll do now. Yeah, so this is the page where you can get more information about Cisco's endpoint solution, right? Endpoint security. AMP is one of the important solution in that regard, or it's no longer called AMP. I think they call it Cisco Secure Endpoint. But the whole idea is pretty simple here, right? So AMP is, think of it as a piece of software which will be on your laptop, which will be deployed by your organization on all the user laptops, and it can identify if there are malware files on your laptop, or if you're downloading some malware. Right now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to integrate this software with DUO, so that anytime a file or a malware file gets downloaded on your laptop, DUO will, AMP will obviously categorize that laptop to be infected, and that information will then be fed to what? DUO. That way DUO can block access to any applications, right? That's what we are trying to do. How do we do this? Let's come back to our DUO admin portal. Here, let's come to the trusted endpoint section. So you see, this is what we have already. Let's go to this one more section called as endpoint detection and response systems. Right now we don't have. Let's add an integration. And what integration are we trying to add? What just happened? Okay, here, right? Yeah, okay. So we try to add, and this is what we get, right? So let's click on add this integration. You get a bunch of information on what to do, right? Step number one is obviously we need to provide the username and password for this, right? So I'll have to get that from my this one. So let's just minimize the screen a bit. Right, I'm logging in so because I clicked on that first link, it's asking me to log in. Let me just go full screen now again. Right, let's click on login. Password, I think I know the password. Let's paste it. Login. So all you have to do was log in to your AMP portal via DUO, and it will be able to start with the integration. Now next is, this is how the AMP or endpoint, secure endpoint looks like. Let's go to accounts. Let's go to API credentials. Grab the new API credential, right? So you will need to provide a name for the application. Let's call it, because we're integrating, right? So DUO TE, and read only is fine. Let's create. Right, so we need to copy these both, right? So let's copy this one. Let's come back to this guy here and paste it here, the client ID. We also need the API key, which is again, okay, let's come here. So which is the API key? My bad, not this one. Here. Right, so let's grab this guy, copy and paste. Okay, so that's mainly it. So we've added that. Is anything else needed? Host name is auto populated, so we can do a test integration. Success. And save integration. Right, and finally scroll down to the bottom and we'll enable it. Cool, that's how you integrate it. Now what do we do next? Let's go to the policies, because we just integrated, but how do you actually use it? That's where the policies comes into play. So you come to your employees policy, click on edit, go to this trusted endpoint section, and here you see there is an option, allow secure endpoint to block compromised endpoints. Now what happens is, every time an endpoint is compromised, and if that endpoint is used to access an application, right, and if that user belongs to the employee policy, then that particular access will be denied. I'm going to save policy. How do we test this out? So to test this out, we need the AMP software to be downloaded. Right now I don't think it is there. So let's go to our AMP page. Let's go to management. Let's see protect. What is that? Download connector. And there should be a group called protect here. Right? We want to protect Windows, so I'm going to show URL. Grab the URL. Copy. Open up, we can try this on any system. Let's open up our maybe an endpoint in the branch, right? Let me open up. Alright, so I've copied. Did I copy the URL? Let's copy it once again. So I want to protect this machine, right? And that's why first we need to install this. Now normally in an organization, what people do is they would deploy this piece of application using some kind of automation, right? You would not be doing this manually. I'm doing it manually, but yeah, that's not the case in an actual organization, right? Say it's getting downloaded. Let's probably go and install it. If you've done your CCI security, this was actually a piece of it, right? If you remember, we had this in the syllabus. So yeah, don't get confused. Cisco Secure Endpoint is nothing but AMP. Alright, installed it. We create even a desktop shortcut. Close. Alright, it's installed. Now let me go to my browser, and just for the fun of it, let's download a malware file. Right, let's see, there's something called as AV test file. So let's try to download this one. So it is failing to download, but still I think that is enough for our AMP to register indicator of compromise. Okay, now it takes a bit of time, maybe 5-10 minutes for the integration to work, especially when an indicator of compromise has been detected by AMP to be told so that the DUO basically gets that information. So we'll have to retry the access to Jira and all of that, in few minutes. But before that, I just came on to the AMP console, and you can see here the threat has been detected, right? We tried to download that file, and you see AMP is already trying to tell us that, hey, this user, or basically on a particular endpoint, we have registered IOC, right? This is there. So now technically from that endpoint, when we are trying to access the application, because we have enabled a particular policy on DUO, that particular endpoint should be blocked from further accessing the application, which we will try in probably a couple of minutes. Alright, we have waited for enough amount of time. So let's see if we can do a sign into Jira. Okay, There you go. Because we already had the session. Okay, it's already giving me DUO. So let me see. Maybe it has not propagated yet, is it? Let's do one thing. Let's try to do this in a new browser or new window. Right, so let's open this in a new window and try it from there. Maybe it had the old session, right? So we need to do it from a new one. And okay, looks like there is a session here as well. It's allowing me. Okay, it's still allowing. So maybe it has still not propagated, right? So let's see. Let's give one more try, probably from an incognito window, if that helps. But generally, it takes few minutes, 5-10 minutes. I don't think I waited enough. I think I've been a bit impatient with this one. Let's give it a try with this Karen. And the password. All right. Yeah, it's giving me the access. So it looks like, let's say, yes. Yeah, it's giving me the access. So looks like we'll have to still wait, maybe 5 more minutes and then come back. Alright, so finally I waited for 5 minutes and then tried to log in, and you can see now it says the device has been blocked for accessing this application, right? Which is what we expected, right? Because we have this whole indicator of compromise. Now if you come back to this indicator of compromise, and we will have to resolve this. So let's go to the inbox. Right, so once you go to the inbox, we can clear this in IOC, right? So once you clear this, then our device should be able to access again. So there you go, that's where it is. So so there's only one record, right? So this is the one, so I'm gonna click on that guy, right? And we'll say mark resolved. And again, I'm not sure if this is going to happen immediately, so I'm going to quickly come back to my machine, and instead of doing this thing, let me just open another new tab, and maybe this time we should have access granted, unless it still takes a bit of time, which I'm not sure, but let's wait. Oh, okay, there you go, right? So it's already sending me the push on my phone. Did I receive it? Yes, I received it. I'm going to approve it. Yes, trust the browser, and boom, we have access. Cool. There you go. So we have access finally. So that's a very cool use case of integrating your DUO with Cisco secure endpoints, right? So that kind of covers this use case. Coming back to just to reflect what we did, this is what we did. We enabled SSO for VPN. We added DNG, which is a reverse proxy. We added SSO for DNG. We then added an application, which is SI Web, right, which was protected by DNG. We created a DUO central portal where people can come in and connect to their applications, VPN-less, right, or borderless. Finally, we also looked at how to provide security, cloud security, via Umbrella Secure Web Gateway. We deployed it using anyconnect and ASA. We created a couple of Umbrella policies, and finally we saw how we can integrate DUO with AMP or secure endpoint. That's mainly for this video, and we'll come back with the final use case